Harry, hey, congratulations on your film, Hereafter.
Well, thank you very, very much. Thank you. That's good. I'm pretty excited, I admit.
Hey, so let's start off with the easy question. Where the original story came from? What sparked you to write the script for Hereafter?
It's funny. I had a I had a breakup that kind of was a little bit like what happens at the beginning of the film, and I was at that point in my early 40s, and I started thinking about like the fact that the moment when you break up with somebody, everyone around you, there starts to be pressure to find somebody. Like, and that's everyone seems to think that that's the right time to immediately just go out and find somebody and find, now that wasn't good, so now you'll find the love of your life. And I started thinking, like, what if you sort of put the gun to the character's head in a way, metaphorically, and made it so the pressure was on and that he really had to do it, but he was still messed up from, that mental state I think a lot of us wind up in after breakups, where we start telling everyone we hate relationships and we hate dating. It's the last thing you want to do, but yet there's immense pressure to do it right at that moment. And then I started, as I drove home from the breakup, I started thinking about, what if I were killed right now? And just sort of came from that. And the movie, the story, the character is not really based on me in any realistic way. I just as I drove home and thought, well, if this were the end right now, and I would have died alone, and I would have died feeling like there was this thing left unfinished. And the more I just kept sort of following that thread, thinking like, what would love even mean in an afterlife? Because it wouldn't be about necessarily children or what your job was, or your career goals in life. And I started thinking, well, what if love was sort of a physical force in the universe, and if so, what would it mean? And I thought, I'd try to see if I could find a way to get that into the film. I don't know if it's there, but that's what I was trying to get into it. And what would love mean to a person in that state of mind and of being?
I think your message is there, and I think your vision of the afterlife is quite humorous in its own way. So,
oh, thank you.
I mean, personally, what is your real vision of afterlife yourself?
Well, I'm actually completely an atheist and don't believe in any form of afterlife, but I do think it's sort of a fun realm to play in for fiction. It's the same way I always say, you don't have to believe in Superman to think it's really fun to write for superpowers. And so I think the afterlife offers a lot of sort of allegorical possibilities, because I always thought, well, it's not really about the afterlife in this. It's kind of an allegory for life with more of a stopwatch put on it, more of an urgency put on it. And if I could have figured out a way to, I would have had it end with a Statue of Liberty there and go, it was Earth all the time, but that's like Planet of the Apes, obviously. But like, my thought was, I had to find a way to make it so it was absolutely crucial that he find love, and that it had to be real love, and that somebody was judging that he couldn't settle, the other person couldn't settle, the other person couldn't be half in love or just have mixed feelings in any way. So I thought, the afterlife offered sort of intense allegorical storytelling possibilities.
So when these characters actually go into it's almost like a quasi afterlife state. It's like almost like purgatory. So technically, they're not quite there yet. They're in transition. How did you want to approach this setting? Because obviously, still New York. They're walking around, but of course, less crowds, some cars.
Well, that came from again, right after being broken up with, having that situation. I found that what I felt like I tend to do, and what a lot of people tend to do, is you go back to the places that you used to meet people, and time has passed in the relationship. So I felt invisible in those old bars I used to go to. I felt like a ghost walking around in the world that I once knew, and that sort of started to build that world for me. I went back to the same places that I had used to hang out, and I was older. A whole new crowd was there. I was older, so I was of no interest to any of them, not just romantically, but just simply of no interest to them. And so the movie started from a place of loneliness and trying to find a way to use satire to deal with that. But then in the end, I tried to make it about love and what that would bring into a particularly lonely life potentially.
How did you want to approach the cinematography for your film? Obviously, you had to use a little bit of special effects, as you can tell.
A lot, yeah.
Yeah, like sort of like I want to say like spiritual visions walking around on the streets, or Scarlett's office. So could you talk about that?
Well, the way it looked on the street was sort of always what I had in my head. The minute I sort of figured that I like the idea of a parallel dimension version of New York, that always felt to me, I've lived in New York for, I guess, 22 years now, and in Manhattan, and it always felt like there's sort of a group of people that occupy New York at night and a group of people that occupy New York during the day, and they share the same world and share it differently. And I'm obviously there's tons of crossover, but I started thinking about that there could be sort of another realm of New York, another dimension of it, where it was the same places, and if you just crossfade between them, you see that there's a whole other scene going on, and different people are there, and they're invisible to those that are in the normal world. So that part came from that. And then I saw a piece of art at an art show that superimposed shadows onto a city street. And after trying to articulate that to several cinematographers along the way, I just videotaped that piece of art and said, that's what I want. I want to have it look like that. And so that's what we went with there. And as far as Scarlett's office, I just always knew that I wanted it to be subtly otherworldly and above New York. The idea being that it would be floating above. I always thought the afterlife had to be very New York centered, at least this character's afterlife. And so I like the idea that you would sense that it was above even the tallest building. No matter what angle you were looking at, it would always be the thing above. And then I didn't want to do that necessarily with CGI completely, just do that on a green screen. So we found an amazing room at the Museum of the Moving Image in Queens. I don't know if you've ever been there, but just found this amazing room. And my brilliant cinematographer had the idea that we could set up an enormous green screen outside the window of it, and just make it appear that it was higher than everything. And then we went and shot plates up in the highest spot in Manhattan, and with some digital trickery from the brilliant guys at Safe Frame in Romania, who are our special effects house, we really made it appear that it's hovering above New York, and from every angle you see the room.
Most excellent. I think you captured that quasi spiritual realm throughout, especially with the cinematography through this film. Let's talk about the cast, because the one thing that's always important, because this is still sort of like a romantic type of story, and you brought in two individuals, Andy and Nora, and most recently Nora is starting to get her stardom power thanks to that Zack Snyder movie.
Yeah, Army of the Dead. Yeah, that was a nice surprise.
Yeah. So could you tell about the casting of Andy and Nora into your film, and why they are perfect for the role, and how they developed their chemistry?
It's interesting. It was this film had a long road to coming together. We started trying to shoot it back in I think we tried to shoot it starting in 2012, And at that point, it was a completely different cast because we had different people that were, people that I knew that I figured would be perfect for those roles originally. And then delays happened, unavoidable delays, scheduling delays, just as it is in the film business, it's inevitable. There's going to be heartaches and heartbreaks and catastrophes along the way. But so we set out to do it. And like I said, in 2012, and then it got so delayed that I made another feature while waiting to get this off the ground. My first feature, Staring at the Sun, that actually, I felt like, well, I shouldn't wait any longer. I still want to make this, but I want to make this with the ideal cast. And so we went ahead and made Staring at the Sun in the interim, did that whole festival run. And then the time came where there was an opportunity to do this. And my casting director, who's terrific, Lois Drabkin, she knew Andy's work. The people that I had originally thought I was going to be using, it was no longer possible. But she knew Andy's work, and I didn't know him. My producer knew him from Law and Order. My casting director knew him from Broadway and Law and Order. And she actually took me to see Groundhog Day on Broadway just to show me how terrific he was. And he blew my mind, as did the Broadway show that he starred in, Groundhog Day. And he'd been a 3-time Tony nominee, and he's a lovely guy, and he really connected to the script. And we met in the dressing room after the performance, and he already wanted the part, and I was thrilled at that. And he also understood it. He went on, in a good way, went on at length about his thoughts about the character and his thoughts about what the movie was trying to say. And that's an asset you can't buy or pay for in any way from an actor. He absolutely, he not just got it, but he felt it deeply, and he connected with the material, even pointed out how it sort of connected to what he was playing in Groundhog Day. And then in a way, the same was true with Nora. We were lucky to find her, but we looked at a lot of different people for it. And Nora's reel. I had never actually seen her in anything, but her reel of acting is pretty stunning. And I wanted somebody who, I felt like the whole movie rises or falls on how much you feel them falling in love, and how much you believe their love, and how much you see it in every look between them, and every way they deliver a line, the way they hear each other. And they're very different types of actors. They come from different backgrounds, but there was magical chemistry, and we were very lucky to capture it. I'm a big fan of both of them, and I feel lucky that those are the two people that we have in this.
I think you did that was an excellent job by your two leads there, because their chemistry of romanticism was perfectly captured. As I was telling someone, was like it was almost like a serendipity in its own way. That everything worked together between the two leads.
Yeah, it did. There were, you could feel it on set, as far as you could feel that the chemistry was working. Sometimes you're not sure whether it's being captured on film, or if it's just two people that, that get along because they're both extremely nice human beings. But you could feel, watching them play a scene, that they really knew how to bring out the best in each other. And,
absolutely.
It was thrilling.
Now, one of the things about indie films, it's always a huge bonus to get a high-profile actor into the film. And then, of course, we're referring to Christina Ricci, who has done quite a bit in her career. Could you talk about scoring her for a part into your film?
Yeah, it's funny. I worked on film crews for a long time, and when I was just starting in film, way back in, I think 1992, I worked on one of her first films. As I was a camera assistant, pulling focus on a movie called Cemetery Club that she made right between the two Addams Family movies. And it was an amazing cast. She played Catherine Keener's daughter, Ellen Burstyn's granddaughter. And, you know, I've always been a fan, of course. And then what happened was the casting director, again, once you start working with certain agencies, you look at who they have in their roster. And I always felt like, you know, the casting of that part was going to be crucial too. It had to be somebody who seemed otherworldly, timeless, instantly memorable, and also had a quirky comic flair. And so with that checklist, when I looked through the people that that were possible for the role, you know, she's a home run. And I felt like since I had worked with her, like, you know, 20 some years before, I felt like I knew she was a good person. I knew she wouldn't remember me, and of course she didn't. She was a little kid at the time, and but I knew for a fact that she was, you know, going to be a kind person. And my producer Carmine Femigletti and I both always felt like we got to try to make sure that there's only kind people on the shoot. And you know, all it takes is one bad attitude to make it so everybody's kind of miserable for a month and a half. And so you know, I went and I met with her, and you know, it sounds funny to say, but she loved the script too. Sweetly, the first thing she said to me was congratulations on the script. And so that was very reassuring. You know, when you know that somebody isn't just taking, you know, coming to see what they can get paid for. Like, you know, she was solely focused on the character and understood what I was going for from the minute we first spoke. And still we spoke a lot more about it, but she has completely unerring instincts for the character she's playing. And so it was a stroke of luck, and definitely it raised the profile of the film, and it made it possible to even bring in more resources to make sure the film was made, because definitely there's people who you know, people's confidence is raised that the movie will get seen if there's somebody whose name they've heard of in it. And we were lucky. A lot of the other roles are played by people who are also, maybe their name might not be as recognizable, but their work is recognizable, like Michael Rispoli, who's in The Sopranos and The Deuce and 100 other movies, and you know, Jackie Cruz from Orange is the New Black. We were lucky enough to have her, and yeah, Jeannie Berlin, who was an Oscar nominee for The Heartbreak Kid. You know, we were really lucky to have a terrific cast. And again, just like my first film, a lot of the credit for that really goes to, you know, Lois Drabkin, who as a casting director, you know, just brings in amazing people, and you wind up getting to choose from among terrific actors. You know, sometimes that's the only thing that's hard about it, is trying to figure out which of the amazing actors is the one that's going to be exactly right for the role. And Christina sure is.
It's always a great thing to know that these actors always support independent filmmaking like yours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Christina's done the big stuff. She's done, you know, Wachowski movies like Speed Racer, and you know, the Addams Family movies. She's done all kinds of big movies, and I think she genuinely has like an indie heart and an indie soul. She likes to play things that are not cookie cutter. So and again, she was a sweetheart. We were a low budget movie, and you know, that means there aren't always every amenity that a gigantic production can offer. Like, I hear she's in Matrix 4, apparently. I just said that a while ago, and I'm sure her amenities are better there, but she's a trooper and was willing to put up with our best efforts, which we certainly provided. But you know, it's different than a giant production.
That is great. And for you, Harry, personally, after since now this is being released widely for everyone to actually see, rather than, you know, the film festivals. What's next for you now?
Well, I have 3 or 4 different things. I'm trying to see which one is going to be the one that gets off the ground first. I had pretty specific plans right before the pandemic, and I knew which film I wanted to make next. I had a script that I felt was ready to go, and but it's a horror film, and I thought that was going to be next. I even talked to some actors about it, and it still might be next, but it's just COVID protocols change what you can shoot easily, and you know. But I have a whole bunch of scripts that I've written, you know, from a broad farcical comedy to I adapted my friend Darren Wong did a brilliant novel about the Civil War, and I did an adaptation of that. Lengthy enough that it would have to be for cable television or something, but and even have like one that I've been working on sort of through the early days of the pandemic. You know, that's sort of more along the lines of Hereafter, in that it's sort of like a half comedy, half drama. Sort of there's romance, there's sort of sci-fi elements, and in my heart of hearts, that's the one I would probably make next if all things were equal. But I've definitely learned that it's a lot easier to get distribution quickly for horror, and you know, that script may be more ready to go. If we were ready to shoot tomorrow, that might be the one more ready to go. But so the long answer to your short question is I'm not sure yet, but one of those.
As long as you have something in the pipeline. I completely understand how filmmakers work.
Yeah, and I still want to get the first film wider distribution. The Staring at the Sun, my first film, that's another goal. Is I felt like we did well in festivals, won 41 festival awards, and a big goal of mine is to get that more widely seen, because I was pretty proud of that one too.
Terrific. Well, let me ask one last question, Harry, before I let you go. Obviously, Hereafter is a great title for your film, but for those people who've seen it at the festival, it was under a different title called Faraway Eyes. Could you talk about the transition from the title change?
Well, to be honest, that really came down to the distributor preferring a title that didn't require any explanation, and I understand that. I kind of always knew that with the title having been Faraway Eyes, that which is sort of, you know, it meant a lot to me as a connection to the material, but you know, it always felt like it required explanation. But all through the process, every time I tried, or anyone else tried to think of a better title for it, nothing really seemed to fit. And the more you live with that title, Faraway Eyes, the more it starts to seem like, well, maybe that is the right title. And you know, so it I don't know if you know the song Faraway Eyes, but it's a Rolling Stones song, and it says, if you're downright disgusted and life ain't worth a dime, go out and find a girl with faraway eyes. You know, so, and then in my head I thought, well, he's seeing the world through faraway eyes, the world is seeing him through faraway eyes, and I thought that's also what he's looking for, is somebody that's sort of with that certain something, that faraway look in her eye. And so but Hereafter, honestly, when I knew that the distributor wanted a different title, a bunch of different titles came up, and believe it or not, I suggested Hereafter as the alternate title, and it came through happenstance that I just ran across those words while desperately searching for a title that fit, and the distributor liked that, and so that's the title now. I do like it. I think it you know, I think it also fits. It has a little bit of a dreamy quality, and that's what we were looking for.
Absolutely. Well, Harry, you made a wonderful movie.
Thank you so much.
With Hereafter, all the pieces actually fit together, and I'm glad that the audiences everywhere will have a chance to watch this film.
Thank you. I'm so thrilled that you liked it. You saw it at CineQuest, or?
No, I saw it recently. I didn't see it at Cinequest
Oh,
personally. I was only there for, I want to say, until they actually shut it down.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, we you know, our premiere screening was March 7th, which, if you recall, that way that year went, that was kind of the night everything shut down. So
I think that what happened was I was there until the afternoon. They held the press conference that they were announcing that that day they were going to shut down, and all of a sudden all of us media people started to bail.
yeah, it makes sense. No, but it was a terrific festival, you know, for as long as it lasted. But like they're actually really great people, and they treat filmmakers wonderfully well. So a shout out to them for that. And I wish the festival could have gone on longer while we were there, but it was smart to stop it when we did. Obviously, in hindsight.
I know in my opinion, it was a scary moment for CineQuest because small film festivals have budgetary problems, and
Sure.
I know shutting down a film festival right in the middle of it, and people would request their ticket refunds, and that would completely kill, a film
Yeah.
festival like CineQuest, which would have been a shame.
Yeah, it could have buried them. You're right, and they were very understanding about it too. They asked people nicely not to ask for refunds and treat it as a contribution, but they also granted refunds if people wanted them. So I don't see how they could have been more fair.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and we do still need a film festival, but at least the world is opening up and film festivals are coming back. So.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And thank you so much for having me and interviewing me and for enjoying the film. That really means a lot to me.
No, not a problem. Keep on making more films, Harry, and I'll keep on checking them out.
All right. Thank you. Have a good rest of the day. Thanks.
And you too. Next time.
All right.
Bye
All
now.
right.